Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. Let's talk about Tiger King. Everybody's talking about it. It's a big documentary. It's on Netflix right now. A lot of people have already said a lot of things about it, but I think I got some new hot takes that nobody's mentioned. And I think I may have the answers about the truth about Carole Baskin and what actually happened with her husband. What is Tiger King? If you haven't been keeping up, Tiger King is a documentary that should have been called Don't Fuck with Cats, but there was already a documentary called that. So they had to name it Tiger King. And it's just like your basic run-of-the-mill documentary about a gay polygamous zookeeper / musician and a murder-for-hire plot with a woman who's a cat-obsessed animal rights activist in Florida who probably fed her husband to tigers. Run-of-the-mill, par for the course. Basic. But there's also a few twists and turns. There's also a drug-dealing guy who has his own zoo. There's also a cult leader, polygamist in North Carolina who owns a zoo. And there's also a harem of gay dudes that aren't really gay. And a bunch of people with their missing limbs. And just a bunch of crazy shit. It's like the twists and turns of this show. The best thing about the show, in my opinion, it's funny because you think you've heard the craziest shit you've ever heard. And then one character, the transitions between the scenes, one character will say, like Safi. Everybody says Safi was like the most down-to-earth, grounded individual on the show that made the most sense. And he is a trans man. I would have said she because she looks like a girl. But they later found out at the end of the show that she prefers he and him pronouns. So what do you call that if it used to be a woman and now it's a man? Trans man? See, trans male? She is missing an arm because she had her arm in a tiger cage and got it bitten off. And you're like, well, that's pretty fucking crazy. Trans woman, man, they're missing an arm. And then she's like, yeah, I came back to work after 9 days. I mean, I didn't think it was that big a deal because I work with a guy with no legs. And you're like, wait, what? And they go, oh, yeah, now we're interviewing the guy with no legs. Like, yeah, I prefer not having legs. I got these fancy ones. I don't have to wear pants anymore because my legs don't get cold. And I live in a trailer that's full of rats, and we eat expired Walmart meat that we feed the cats, and we only get paid $100 a week. Oh, really? So it's like one thing after another, and it's just like it gets crazier and crazier and crazier. So you got one arm missing woman and the 2 legs missing guy. What was his name? I need to bring up the names of all these people to get them confused. Eric. He's the guy with the no legs. He's the head zookeeper at the Greater GW Zoo, Greater Wynwood Zoo in Oklahoma. So mainly it all takes place in Oklahoma. And then you got these people in Florida and this guy in North Carolina, and they're all kind of like at war with each other. And there's a guy in Illinois or Indiana or something. But they're all so far apart, like I don't see how they even have an influence on each other, except the one woman is like an animal rights woman, and they have like a bunch of internet shows, and she kind of like wants to stop the guy in Oklahoma because he has people petting his tigers, and she's doing the same shit he's doing and keeping tigers in Florida, but she's not having people like pay to come in and pet them, so she doesn't make as much money. But then it gets weird. Let me just go through some more characters because there's way too much to even talk about. Joe Exotic has, like, if you look on IMDb, a lot of the people that are listed, it says, oh, this is Jeff's wife, this is Joe's husband, and then you're like, oh, this guy's Joe's husband too. Wait, what? And then this guy's Joe's husband too. Wait, what? So, like, Joe has multiple husbands. Surprisingly, not gay. Joe's gay, husband's not gay. How is that possible? Well, meth makes you want meth really bad. And if you got to be a gay husband for your sugar daddy that's supplying you with meth, then you'll do that. So he's got this one husband whose name is not Dylan. That's his third husband, John Finley. He's the guy who has no teeth, and he never wears a shirt. He could be gay, but he doesn't really seem that gay, other than he's married to a man, and he kisses him a lot, and he's in all of his like music videos about being gay. But he doesn't seem like your typical gay. Like Joe Exotic seems really gay. Then you got his second husband, Travis Maldonado, who used to be a skateboarder. And I perked up. I'm like, wait, Travis Maldonado, skateboarder? That sounds really familiar. That sounds like one of the characters you could play in Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 or 4, was it? Which one had like the signature moves? But I think I got him mixed up with Travis McDonald or Mike Maldonado or something. Or Mike Maldonado might have actually been his brother that was a playable character, because if he was a skateboarder, what are the odds that he would have a brother with the same name as a famous skateboarder? I don't know. But he wasn't gay at all. He used to date women in high school and stuff. He just got hooked on the meth. And not gay. So his big crazy thing in the show, he's mostly just stays at home and hangs out and spends his husband's money or whatever. But he likes to play with guns. All of these people in Oklahoma, they like to play with guns. Joe Exotic, always shooting shotguns at people's feet. Shooting in the air and just blowing the leaves off stuff. Shooting pistols at like a dummy of Carole Baskin's, which you'll find out about on his show because he hates her so much. And Travis Maldonado, he's playing with a .22 pistol with the guy who's Joe Exotic's campaign manager, which later you'll find out he ran for president. He's sitting here watching him, and he shoots himself. He says you can't shoot a .22 with no magazine in it, and he shoots himself in the head, and he dies. And the guy's sitting there like, what? So he kills himself on the show. And then at his funeral, Joe Exotic talks about his balls a lot. And his mom's sitting there, and he's talking about, if everybody saw his balls, he really liked them golden nuggets and stuff. And it was really embarrassing, because Joe Exotic has to make everything about himself, and everything's about a big show. And he eventually had his third husband named Dylan, who did seem gay. But he found him like within a week after his other husband died. So he didn't care about these guys. So Joe Exotic, he's your typical flamboyant attention whore gay cowboy musician. I mean, like, he has music videos and he has songs, but when he's singing a song, it's not his voice. I don't know what he's doing. If he's cheating, he's using like a professional country singer to like dub his lip sync over or something. But then he starts talking like a gay guy, and it's like, what the fuck is this? And he starts singing, and it sounds like an actual, like who's one of the, I don't even know any famous country singers, but it doesn't sound like him at all. Now here's something, hot take, nobody's ever pointed this out. Joe Exotic to tigers is what Timothy Treadwell is to grizzly bears. If you ever seen the Grizzly Man documentary by, who's that German guy? I can't think of his name. It's exactly like the same situation. His obsession with big animals and being gay and just weirdness. Like Joe Exotic, he always has eye makeup on the bottom eyelid of his eye, so he looks like a pirate. And he always has like handcuffs or some kind of weird belt buckle and a bunch of gay tattoos. And then like at one point, the cameraman is in his bedroom and he's just like putting his pants on. He's talking about his Prince Albert. If you don't know what that is, it's like a piercing in the tip of your dick. It's like a big metal ring that goes through the dick hole and comes out the base of your shaft, or not the base of your shaft, but the base of the head of your shaft or your dick. And he's talking about like he has a lock on the wall that he puts on the end of his Prince Albert. I guess that's to make your dick hang down lower to make it grow bigger. I don't know. He's trying to run for president, and he decides he's only going to run for governor, and he's only paying his workers like $100 and treating them like shit. But they want to be around him because they get to be around these cats or something, or I don't even know the appeal of it. That's basically episode 1, and then episode 2 tells you just more about like these people getting their limbs ripped off, and they introduce you to this guy, Bhagavan Doc Antle. And he is a cult leader who has like 5 to 7 wives or girlfriends or something that like he'll pick them up when they're teenagers. And if they want to go up in the zookeeping business, they have to like give him sexual favors or something. And then he gets them all to change their name, and he renamed them all. And they have certain outfits they have to wear. And he bought them all houses, I think. I think he paid for those. They all have houses like on Tiger Avenue or whatever he calls it. So, he's like an interesting character. Then you got this guy who was like stuffing snakes full of drugs and a bunch of like, he had like 100 years sentence or something, and he got commuted down to 12 years somehow, and he was like mixed in with the cartel. And then you get to Carole Baskins. So you've probably seen all the memes about Carole Baskins had a husband, whacked him. So Joe hates Carole Baskins because she's like an animal rights activist and she's trying to shut him down. And she has an internet show, Joe has an internet show, and they go back and forth with each other. So she was married to this guy, Howard Baskin, and he was like a millionaire. I'm not sure how. They showed somebody's handwriting from a journal, and it was really bad. I don't know if it was Howard Baskin or if it was Joe Exotic. I think it was Howard Baskin. Another example of how like you can be a millionaire and not be very smart, because he couldn't spell anything very good, and he's like, they showed Carole Baskin's journal, and she like had the most perfect handwriting I've ever seen, like a font almost. And then her husband couldn't write for shit. So the whole story was he was like a millionaire, and he got tired of Carole, and he was talking about leaving and going to Costa Rica, and then she had him killed and fed to her tigers to hide the body. This is what Joe Exotic said. He keeps saying she fed her husband to these tigers, and then he'll turn around and say his body is underneath the septic tank. You gotta look in that septic tank. That's where he is. That's where his body is. I'm like, what? You just said she fed him to tigers. How can it be in the septic tank? That conflicts. What are you talking about? Doesn't make any sense. So here's where I think I figured it out. I don't know if Joe Exotic's in on this, but at one point, Howard Baskin says, he tells his friend, after he's talking about wanting to go to Costa Rica and all that stuff, he says, if I pull this off, it'll be the slickest thing I ever did. So what I think happened is Howard and Carole Baskin are in on this together. He fakes his own death, pins it on his wife, but he knows that without a body, they can't ever convict her, so that'll give her attention and make her zoo grow or whatever, Big Cat Rescue. At the same time, he cashes in on a big life insurance payment. I think they also talked about him having a bunch of like gold bars or something he was burying in the yard. I've been watching a lot of TV. Maybe that was another show, but I think it was this guy. So he had all this money he could have like taken to Costa Rica, and then he had money in the bank. Or maybe Carole Baskin emptied a bank account and gave it to him to leave to Costa Rica with. And then she cashes in the life insurance and puts the same amount in the bank, so it looks like that money is still there that she gave to him, and they kind of like lose it, sort of. But nobody notices it's gone because it's the same amount. Or something like that. I'm trying to figure out what his slick deal is. What his slick scheme was. Because I think Howard Baskin is still alive in Costa Rica. I don't know why his wife would be cool with him just leaving. Maybe they were both tired of each other and it was like a mutual thing. He's like, hey, instead of us getting a divorce and you taking half and I take half, let me take what we got now and then we'll fake my death and then you get your own millions and then we're both millionaires. See? Insurance scam. So at some point, Joe Exotic and his constant trolling of Carole Baskins, she has this group called the Big Cat Rescue, and it has like a logo and stuff. And he steals the logo and he creates Big Cat Rescue Entertainment with the same font and stuff, which to me seems out of his league as far as computer skills. And well, he had a web show, but still, like, does he know how to use Photoshop and like copy fonts? Like, I don't even know if he figured out what font she was using, because he used the same logo and just put entertainment under it. And then, I don't know, it just didn't all make sense to me. It seems like these guys are too dumb for that. They're all smoking meth and they're living in fucking rat houses with tiger cages all around and cleaning up shit all day and going to Walmart and getting a bunch of expired meat. I mean, it does seem like a bunch of computer geniuses sitting around. And then you got some of these like Twitter or Instagram posts that Joe Exotic made, and it's kind of funny because it's like he'll have a picture of just him on the beach with a dog, and he'll have a bunch of hashtags like hashtag gay man, hashtag gay, hashtag dog on beach. And then one of them was like hashtag gay boy. Like, is he putting that out there for people that look for gay boy hashtags? And like maybe they'll contact him and he's trying to find young gay dudes that he can hook up with and like add to his harem of gay dudes that he's married to. And then another thing that really I couldn't understand, this whole documentary, they're having all this footage because like at the end of it, Joe Exotic is in jail for 22 years. So they're showing a bunch of footage from years ago because there was another guy, Rick Kirkham. He was making a reality show based on Joe Exotic. Not this one, but he was doing his own documentary. And then Joe, I think, burned down the alligator house where he was keeping all of the footage and like doing all the editing and video stuff. I guess that was just the only place they had room for it was in the alligator house. Killed a bunch of alligators. But they said they lost all of that footage, and that's what really pissed Rick Kirkham off, is that he lost all this footage and all of his work. because they were going to like expose a lot of this stuff that was like criminal that they were doing. So where did all the footage that they're showing in the documentary come from? Like all this stuff, like back when Travis Maldonado was still alive. Like that's a while back, I think, right? And then they got all this footage of them like planning to kill Carole Baskin, and like they're looking at Google Maps to figure out where the best place to hide in the bushes and shoot her with a crossbow would be, and like where is all this footage coming from if they lost it all? So maybe that's like another conspiracy. Like maybe they didn't actually lose the footage. They just claimed that they did. I don't understand how they would gain from that though. Then you got this other guy who comes in as an angel investor. His name is Jeff Lowe. And he's not really that interesting, only that he's addicted to affliction shirts. And I don't really know what affliction shirts are about. I know like people that are into MMA like it. And it's like a lot of black and a lot of like bandanas. And I don't know why people want it. I've never seen a store that sells it. I don't know where you get it. I don't know what the big deal is. But people are into affliction gear for some reason. It seems like people that would be into wrestling or dirt track racing or something that would be into affliction clothes. I don't know why. Another thing people haven't pointed out is that Joe claims a lot that he can't be financially responsible for stuff because he doesn't actually own anything. Like it all... Who does it? Who does own it? The zoo itself. Like there was a thing with Kent Hovind, the famous Christian apologist. He had Dinosaur World in Florida. And all of the donations, the money, he never paid taxes on it because he said it belonged to God or it belonged to the Dinosaur World place itself. And that's how he got away from not paying taxes, was like he didn't actually own it himself. It wasn't in his name. So I don't know why Joe doesn't have anything in his own name. But this guy comes along, Jeff Lowe, and he buys the park from him, and he still acts like he owns everything. Joe does. So when he's running for governor, he's doing all this like campaigning and stuff. He hires a guy. He like has all these like condoms made, like keeping yourself safe with voting for Joe Exotic. A bunch of other things that he paid for, and he put at the bottom of it, paid for by GW Zoo, which he doesn't own anymore. Just guy Jeff Lowe owns it all. So that kind of put him on a weird spot financially or legally or something. I don't even understand why. So then Joe got charged with embezzling, I think. So that pissed off Jeff Lowe, and that made him turn to the feds, and he tried to like catch Joe plotting to kill Carole Baskin. So then they got this guy James Garretson. So he started working with the feds too. And I don't know if they both knew that they were both working for the feds, but then they ended up getting the right kind of evidence or something, and I kind of got lost. It's a whole bunch of mess. It's a good show though, but kind of hard to follow all the craziness. What do you guys think? Did Carole Baskin kill her husband, or is he still alive? Wait, is Eric the guy with no legs, or is it John Ranke?